I never expected a single moment, one stupid, reckless moment, to burn down the life I had spent 5 years building. But the truth is never dramatic at first. It begins like a spark you think you can stomp out. You think you can hide the scorch mark? You think time will bury it. I thought all of that. I was wrong. It happened at my boyfriend Marcus's company party, one of those rooftop events with 2 bright lights and 2 strong cocktails that make you feel bolder than you actually are. His boss, Devin, charismatic and impossible to ignore, was the center of every conversation. He was the kind of man who moved like he already knew people, admired him. I didn't admire him, not at first, but I noticed him noticing me. It was a stupid dare, at least. That's the lie I grabbed onto when fear started tightening around my ribs. A friend jokingly said I wouldn't dare kiss Devin. I laughed it off, but Devin didn't. And in the haze between music and bad decisions, I let myself stumble into something that wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't passionate, it wasn't meaningful, but it was wrong. And when Marcus Sowen, his face collapsed into a shape I had never seen on him before, I panicked. I told him it was just a dare, a drunken dare, nothing more. He didn't yell. He just went quiet, painfully, terrifyingly quiet. The next morning, he was gone. Not just out for air, gone from our apartment, gone from my messages, gone from the life we shared. That's when the real unraveling began, because betrayal doesn't end when the cheater gets caught. It ends when the one betrayed decides what kind of person pain will turn them into. I thought Marcus would eventually come home. He always did. We'd fought before, though. Never about infidelity. He was the kind of man who processed things slowly, carefully, like turning over stones in a river. But days passed. Then a week. Then 2. His absence stretched across my life like a shadow that wouldn't move. He didn't block me. He didn't answer me either. That was worse than rage. It was the silence of someone making a decision. I learned he'd taken leave from work. His colleagues said he hadn't shared why. But Devin knew. And Devin, ever the composed professional, would nod politely when I tried to speak to him, but never linger long enough for more than a greeting. It was clear he regretted the moment too. But regret couldn't fix what I'd broken. Every night I replayed that kiss, how meaningless I thought it was, how devastating it became. Marcus had always trusted me deeply, perhaps too deeply. We were planning to move in officially, signing a lease together next month. Now our shared future felt like a document thrown into the wind. The guilt became physical, a tightness in my chest, a heaviness behind my ribs. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The quiet apartment, once warm, felt like a museum of our memories. His mug, his jacket, his half-finished book. I kept thinking if he would just yell, if he would just tell me he hated me, it would hurt, but at least I would know where I stood. Instead, he left me in emotional purgatory. I understood then that betrayal isn't defined by the moment you get caught. It's defined by the echo afterward, the lingering proof that some mistakes can't be undone, no matter how desperately you want them to be. And Marcus wasn't the only one changing because of it. I was too. When Marcus finally showed up. 3 weeks had passed, long enough for me to think he might never return, but short enough for hope to keep scratching at my chest. I heard the apartment door unlock late one evening. I froze. He stepped inside quietly, not looking around like someone coming home, but scanning like someone checking an old battlefield. He had lost weight. His eyes held a distance that made my stomach drop. "Marcus," I whispered. He didn't respond at first. He placed a folder on the dining table. Only then did he meet my eyes. "I'm not here to argue," he said calmly. Too calmly. "I'm here because I needed closure." The word closure hit like a slap. "I'm sorry," I began, but he held up a hand. I spent weeks asking myself what hurt more, the kiss or the lie, and it wasn't the kiss. His voice cracked but didn't break. "It was how quickly you chose deception over honesty." "I was scared," I whispered. "I know," he said, "and fear tells us who we really are." I felt myself collapse inside. I tried to reach for him, but he stepped back. "I'm leaving the company," he said. "I already resigned, and I'm moving out of state for a new position." "Marcus, don't do this because of me. I'm doing it because of what loving you turned me into. I don't recognize myself anymore." He slid the folder toward me. "You'll find the lease cancellation papers in here. Sign them when you can." Then, softer, almost tender, "I don't hate you, but I can't love you the same way again. And I refuse to stay where I'm only reminded of the worst moment of my life." He left before I could respond. This time, he didn't look back. The emptiness Marcus left behind curdled into something sharp, pain turning into blame, blame turning into anger. Not at him, at myself. But self-hate becomes unbearable, and when that happens, the mind looks for somewhere else to aim. Devin became that target because after Marcus left, Devin pretended nothing had happened, he continued, rising at the company. Confidence unshaken, reputation spotless. Meanwhile, my relationship was in shambles, my future uprooted, my heart hollowed out. I told myself he shared the responsibility. I told myself he encouraged it. I told myself he didn't stop me. Lies, maybe, but they felt easier to hold than the truth. One night, after too much wine and too little restraint, I marched into the company mixer I hadn't been invited to. Devin was there, surrounded by admiration and respect he hadn't earned in my mind. I cornered him. "Do you realize what that night cost me?" I hissed. He looked at me, expression tight. "I'm sorry for your pain, but you made the choice same as I did. That's all you have to say." "There's nothing more to say," he replied. "I can't rewrite the past for you, but I wanted someone to hurt with me. Someone to feel the consequences I had felt." The next day, fueled by bitterness, I filed a complaint with HR. I exaggerated, twisted, framed the kiss as something more one-sided than it truly was. I told myself I wasn't lying, just shifting the balance of damage. The company launched an investigation. The whispers began, and for the first time since Marcus left, I felt something other than heartbreak. I felt power, but revenge, I would soon learn, has a cost far greater than guilt. It has a way of circling back. The investigation didn't go the way I imagined. Instead of Devin collapsing under the weight of my accusation, the truth began unraveling my story thread by thread. HR interviewed witnesses. They reviewed cameras. They gathered statements. Slowly, painfully, my narrative crumbled. When they confronted me, I broke. Guilt surged through me like ice water. I just wanted someone to understand how much I lost. I admitted. The HR manager looked at me with disappointment rather than anger. "Your pain doesn't justify damaging someone else's life," and just like that, I became the villain of a story I had already ruined. Devin didn't press charges. He didn't even look at me with hatred when we spoke afterward. "I'm not here to punish you," he said quietly. "I just hope you get the help you need." Those words hurt more than any punishment. With no job, no relationship, no stability, I finally confronted the truth I had been running from. Marcus leaving wasn't the result of a kiss, it was the result of who I became afterward. The lie, the panic, the way I tried to drag other people into my pain instead of facing it. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Marcus was doing well, healthier, calmer, rebuilding. I wanted to reach out. I knew I didn't deserve to tug him back into my orbit. I moved into a small apartment, started therapy, and faced the version of myself I had been too afraid to see. My revenge had never been against Devin. It had never been against Marcus. It had always been against the part of me that feared imperfection so deeply that I destroyed the love. I learned too late that some mistakes don't just cost you someone else, they cost you yourself.